Throughout time, history has uncovered the horrors of our existence. Stories, no matter when they occurred, still haunt us today. In the heart of these tragedies are glimmers of hope. Within the deception of our own species, survivors prevail. They live on, and we hear their stories of survival. Collins Avenue, Miami Beach, home of Toni Stransky. 12 stories provide you with a view of the ocean and the city, a luxury Toni enjoys on a daily basis. The sun, the ocean, the sand, a peaceful and stress-free environment. Toni has agreed to speak with us about her survival story. She is a survivor of the Holocaust.
I was in the ghetto together with my mother and my mother's sister, which for a short time we were there. Then from this ghetto they put us in a certain working place where we used to work with the wood, carrying it, and of course I was young and strong, and my mother was young, and then came a time that they were closing up everything, and they sent us to a prison. Prison not far away, there was a prison called Tarnów, a town, Tarnów. Over there in the prison we stayed for quite a long time, as a Jews of course, and being treated like as Jews. And from there, the train came, and it was 100 people pushed between. We couldn't breathe, we couldn't, of course some people even made under themselves because there was no bathroom. They were screaming, yelling, little children crying. There was no food, and that's how we arrived in a place called Auschwitz. And thereby they let us out of the train, and there was selection. The young people were on the one side, the older people on the other side. Well, we knew already, we heard about it, and we knew that the old people were going to go straight to be burned. So we knew already. Well, my mother was still young, and she was scared that she should lose me, so she grabbed me and she put me on the side where all the young people were. And her sister were with us, and they were hiding me. That's how I arrived. The living situation was that we didn't have place to sleep. We were sleeping on top of each other, and we were laying on, they called this koiki, one top that was just nothing. We were nothing to cover. It was people on top of people. Well, I'm glad that I had my mother and my aunts, but they were always trying to keep me away from everything. Lice, bugs, all kind of, and it was unbelievable, unbelievable. No food, nothing to eat, starvation, crying, that's all you hear. And then, of course, every day were selection. If somebody was sick or something, they were taking them right away. And I have to say that I got sick over there. I had a typhus. Typhus get when the bug bit you. And there were thousands of people used to get typhus, and I got a typhus. And usually, if they catch you, the Gestapo or anybody there, they take you right away on the car, such a truck, and send you to be burned. But my mother, my aunt, covered me with something, and I only remember one thing that I saw, like 100 shoes. The shoes were not shoes, only there was shoes out of wooden shoes, and that's true. I remember laying there and I felt that all the wooden shoes were walking over me. but actually nobody was walking it, except I had tremendous fever, and I was someplace, anyhow that's how my mom and my aunts kept me alive, just covering me, and I was just yelling, I want water, water. There was no water, nothing. I don't know whether they were stealing from someplace, somewhere, to just bring me something to my mouth that should be not so dry. Well, it took them a long time before I recuperate. When I opened my eyes, I look around, I didn't know where I was. My mother was, I remember her tears falling on my face, only my aunt. And they said, you have to be healthy, we have to survive because you have brothers. And you have your father in America, and we're gonna go one day. And then I started feeling better, and my mother said, you have to go, because every morning they used to make like tzelapel, people stand in line and count, because if somebody was missing, they were looking for them, and boom, 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 they were shooting them. So my mother said, you have to stand up in line, and we have to go out to the field to work. I remember I couldn't stand on my feet, and my mother said, when they're going to say 1, 2, 3, you have to walk, I'm going to be right near you, and my aunt's going to be on the other side watching you, that you walk. How can a child of 15 years walk with the temperature still? I used to have probably still temperature, but I was so weak. And I only said, God, please help me. I was crying. Please help me make the 2 steps that I could go through there was such a place that you had to go through because the Gestapo was standing there and music was playing, and you had to go through. And I know I had to do it for my mother. I had to do it for my father and my brothers. And I used to make 1, 2, 3 in my head till I crossed the line. And I was on the other side and I fainted. So my mother and my aunt just grabbed me on both sides, and they were dragging me to the field where they were working. And one thing, so I was laying there, they covered me with the grass or something, I don't remember exactly what, till the time was that we had to, at 12 o'clock they used to bring some kind of soup, and my mother used to take a spoon and give me something to my mouth. My mother was extremely educated woman. She was young, she was not even, I think maybe she was 40 or 42 when this everything happened. But she got married very young. She spoke perfectly German. She was very smart, and she got acquainted with a doctor, but she was very friendly with the Gestapo. And through her, she took her sister and me and put in a certain place that was called Canada. That's a company, was only 100 girls going out of the camp to a place where they used to bring train full of people, Jews, gypsy, everybody from the whole world, and we used to unpack the stuff what they used to bring. It was the only way how we survived that. Because when we used to open the packages, there were food and perfume, and from Paris, a lot of perfumes. We used to pour ourselves, that not to get any dirt, so we used to wash ourselves in perfumes. But then from Hungary, there were all different kind of food that was, that was fantastic. Anyhow, my mother was very smart, and she used to listen always what the Gestapo used to talk. They didn't know that my mother understood German. And then she had a deck of cards, and she used to put the cards on the table, and she used to, like a gypsy, she used to tell stories. So when the Gestapo passed by, they used to ask her in German what she's doing. So she said that she's telling what's going on in the world. So she said, well, can you tell me? But meantime, she used to listen. When the 2 Germans were talking, they said there's bombing and this and bombing that, and the family's bad, and somebody was killed. She opened the cards, and she said, oh, it's very bad in your country. They were bombing the streets, and then somebody was killed, and the Germans were looking. They were so impressed because she, from the cards, but it was not from the cards, she was listening what they were talking about. And she became very, very known then. They liked her very much. Nota bene, sometimes even they brought her something to eat. And this way my mother was surviving, and me and the aunt. But then my aunt got very sick, and she had a typhus, and she died. She died, and I had to take her out of the bed together with my mother and put her on such a trolley, and I never forget, I had to push her and throw her with all the dead people were lying. With my mother, we, like nothing, we were throwing them. And I was standing and crying. I said, my aunt is, I was only 16, 17 years old, my God, it's already, it was unbelievable that she's dead. But she was dead. It was all around. I saw, in Auschwitz, the people were sick. They were biting them, they were biting, the people, the dead people were dead. They came, I thought they were crazy. They were biting on other people's sides because they was hungry. There was hunger. There was no cleaning, no washing, no water, no toileting. They were making, everybody smelled there because everybody was making under themselves. The fingers, they were full of the kind of sickness of God. It was unbelievable. Everybody was zombies over there. Only zombies were walking, screaming, yelling, crying. It's unbelievable it's nobody ever should go through this. And to almost 4 years to live like this. Can you imagine?
No.
Only with dead people, with nothing else. Dead all around, the smell of burning people. One day we, Russian girls, it was quite early in the morning, were standing because one of them had a patrol. She was watching if the Gestapo is not coming back. All of a sudden she started yelling, my God, I think the Russian is coming, the Russian. So everybody started jumping, running to the door there and looking, and what we saw, a shadow, people walking on the skis with white uniform, blending together with the snow. Well, they were Russian, yes, they were Russian, they came, and that was the day where I was free from Auschwitz. I was free, my mother and we were free.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we wanted to go back to our town, but my mother was sick, she was a very sick woman after this. So we decided, I asked one of the Russian people to help me up that I should at least pull her to town from the camp. And I met some very nice girls, what they said they're going to help me if we have something, from a wood, something. They took a bed, I think, and they broke the bed to pieces and made like, what do you call this when you swing, you go down on it from a hill?
Oh, like a little sled.
Sled, yes, that's what they built, a sled with a rope, and we put my mother on it, and we were starting pulling out of the Auschwitz from the concentration camp. But it seems that it was hours and hours and hours, and we couldn't get out of it. We couldn't get out. It was only dead, dead, dead. That's all we saw. It was unbelievable. We came on the street, and I saw a car running, and I stopped in the middle of the street, and I said, stop, please, stop, stop, stop. Of course in Polish. And they stopped, and there was a Russian officer, and I started crying, and I said, my mother is very sick, please take her to hospital, please take her someplace. So he didn't want to from the beginning, but then he pushed somebody, and he pushed my mother in, and she said, we're going to meet in Krakow on the station. So, and remember, when you come there, you're going to look for me, and I'm going to wait for you on the station, and we go home. And that's how I lost my mother for a few weeks. I couldn't find her. When I came to Krakow, it was in night with the two girls, and we were wearing the striped dresses and the striped kerchief on mine. And there was curfew, and you're not allowed to walk in a certain hours, especially the Russians. They stopped us yelling, screaming at us. They almost shocked us. They thought we are some kind of crazy people walking in the striped dresses. So one of them started explaining to him that we are from a concentration camp and we have no place to go, that they should help us out. So they were talking and they called on the telephones, I don't know. Anyhow, a car came with the officer and he said there is a building where the Gestapo left, that they should go over there and we can sleep over and then we see what's going to be next. Finally, I came to the station and I couldn't find Mother. I went there every day, I couldn't find her. I used to start putting different, you know, on the doors and lamps and trains. Wherever I went, I used to put a little card. If anybody saw a woman calling this, and looking like this, Auschwitz survivor, I didn't get any answer to it. It took me a long time. One day I was just hanging tickets on some kind of lamp, and there was a beautiful store there, women's store. So I was looking back and forth. I said, oh, I wish I had money and buy something like this. And looking back and forth, and then I see somebody behind me looking the same way, but the woman was looking into my face mostly. And then I turned around, and when I turned around, she turned around. And again I looked, and finally I said, my God, what does she want from me? So I walked over, and she said, oh, my child, please forgive me, but you look so much like my daughter, and I think I lost my daughter. So I started crying, and I said I lost my mother, and I'm looking for her. And I told her the story, Auschwitz and so on, so show her my number. And she said, you know, a Polish maid saved my life in the closet. All the war I spent in the closet. But she's a very good woman, and I have a very nice apartment, quiet, nice, and I have a lot of clothes of my daughter. Why don't you come and stay with me? And we're both going to look for your mother and for my daughter. So I said, what can I lose? I think I went. And she gave me a bath and cleaned me up like, I don't know what, gave me her daughter clothes, a nightgown. And then I went to sleep, and all of a sudden I felt something dripping, something like water coming over me. I wake up and look up, and she was standing and crying. The tears were falling on me. And she said, please forgive me, but you look so much like my daughter. Please stay with me, please stay with me. So I said, yes, I'm going to stay with you, and you're going to look for your daughter, and I'm going to look for my mother. And she really helped me out a tremendous amount. And I used to go to the office over there, still asking if anybody heard from my mother or anybody. Well, nobody heard. That one day I had a dream that was in my town, that I saw my mother walking on the bridge in a clothes like grey coat, white scarf around her neck, and 2 brown left shoes. And I was standing and looking in the water and crying, and the fish were jumping and eating my tears. And all of a sudden I heard motorcycle, and I look around, and it was my mother's friend, Mr. Adamowski was his name, who helped us a tremendous amount during the war when we were in ghetto. Polish man, very nice. And he said, Toni, why are you crying? I said, Mr. Adamowski, I lost my mother. My father is in the United States. My brother someplace in Russia, probably not alive. He said, what are you talking about? Your mother is on the other side. Don't you see her on the other side? And I looked and I see my mother walking in a grey coat, white scarf around her neck, and 2 brown left shoes. Well, that's how I met my mother. Then finally, one day somebody said that my mother is alive, and she's in this town, that I should get there, and I did. And I found my mother exactly the way I was in my dream on the bridge. Somehow she got in touch with my father's in the United States, and my father said, we have to get out from Poland, we have to go to Munich, and from Munich he's going to be able to take us to the United States. So we sneak through different countries in nights till we came to Munich, and over there we're already American, And through this American consulate and people what my father knew and sent it some clothes and money, so we got in touch, and my father made papers for us to go to United States. It took us a long time, at least about half a year or so or more. My cousin Phyllis was with us. Phyllis was already with us. And we were invited to the American consulate for the holidays, because I don't remember exactly how my mother made this. Anyhow, so we went there, but my mother didn't feel good, so she stayed home. I just went with Phyllis. But the way back, when we came back, I saw my mother standing and crying. I said, "Ma, what happened?" She said, "You know, some friends from Russia came and said that your brothers are on the way." And I ran upstairs and I said, "I don't believe it, I don't believe it. My brothers must be here." And really, two of my brothers were standing there, which I didn't recognize them, because one of them didn't have teeth, and the other one was so tall that Uncle Simo was very, very tall. I couldn't recognize them. That after so many, almost 6 years, we didn't see each other. Got finally two brothers and me and my mother together. So we went to Bremenhaven, and from there we waited there a few weeks till we got the boat. The ride on the boat, that was like a tiny little boat, and it was awful. You know, whenever you looked down, I was up. Whenever you looked up, it was down. And when you went to the bathroom to sit down, all of a sudden, boom, you went up. Then you had to sit down again. Everybody was sick on the boat. And finally, I saw the United States. The lady, what do you call her?
The Statue of Liberty.
Statue of Liberty. I thought I'm going to go nuts when I saw her. And then finally we stopped, and we went on the porch and looking for my father. I saw him there. And I yelled, "Daddy, Daddy!" And he looked at me. He didn't see us. He saw us as little children. All of a sudden, grown-up people came. He said, I don't know you. Where is your mother? Where is your mother?" He was there with the lawyers, because a lot of people came and claimed that they had a family and so, but they weren't. But they wanted to get to the United States, so they lied. Finally, I ran down and I called my brothers to come up, and my mother. And my mother came up, and when he saw my mother, he fainted. He fainted. His family was together. And that's how we came to the United States. God bless America.
They say human beings are a flawed species. Yet at the same time, we are our own inspiration. Toni survived one of history's greatest tragedies. She got married, created a family,
When I walk on the
traveled
beach,
the world.
everybody does this. You know, they think a captain is. See the boat there? That's my boat. See this over there, the boat? Another boat. Don't you see the boat running there? Can you see it? That's my boat. Over there, over there. The Yanks are coming.
She continued to inspire and live on, to prevail, to survive.